Offbeat Education, the hidden wisdom of history's greatest thinkers. You are about to escape the prison of conventional learning. Imagine spending 12 years of your life in a prison where the bars are made of standardized tests and the guards are armed with red pens. 16,000 hours confined to hard chairs, memorizing facts you'll soon forget, while the real education, the wisdom that might actually save your life, waits just beyond those classroom walls. This isn't dystopian fiction. This is how most of us were taught to learn. What if I told you that nearly everything you've been taught about education is a carefully constructed illusion? That the greatest minds in history didn't emerge from this system, but by rebelling against it? That you've been wandering in darkness while the true light of knowledge burns elsewhere? The secret history of human wisdom reveals a startling pattern. Those who transformed our understanding rarely did so through conventional education. They found illumination through paths considered strange, unconventional, offbeat. Consider Socrates, perhaps history's most influential teacher, who owned no school, wrote no textbooks, and refused to lecture. Instead, he wandered Athens like a philosophical vagabond, engaging citizens in dialogue, questioning their assumptions until they discovered truth themselves. When the establishment charged him with corrupting the youth, he declared, "Education is not filling a vessel, but lighting a fire." They sentenced him to death. Hardly the standard retirement package for distinguished professors. This pattern repeats throughout history. Henry David Thoreau abandoned society entirely for Walden Pond, writing, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." His experiment in radical self-education produced insights still electrifying minds nearly 2 centuries later. Here's another revelation that should shake you. Michel de Montaigne, Renaissance philosopher and inventor of the essay, retreated to his tower library, declaring, "I am myself the subject of my book." Rather than regurgitating classical authorities like his contemporaries, he turned inward, examining his own experiences with ruthless honesty. This self-directed education revolutionized Western thought. Friedrich Nietzsche, rejected by academia, wandered alpine paths alone, writing profound insights between crippling migraines. He warned, "In large states, public education will always be mediocre, for the same reason that in large kitchens the cooking is usually bad." Are you starting to see the pattern? The matrix of conventional education begins to dissolve when you realize that wisdom rarely emerges from compliance. Why does traditional education so often fail to produce wisdom? Because it prioritizes conformity over curiosity, memorization over meaning, credentials over comprehension. It's a system designed not to illuminate minds, but to produce predictable workers. A factory for manufacturing sameness. True learning requires what Zen Buddhists call beginner's mind. Approaching the world with fresh eyes, unburdened by preconceptions. As Shunryu Suzuki wrote, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, in the expert's mind there are few." Consider this mind-bending example. Diogenes of Sinope, founder of Cynicism, lived in a barrel and rejected all material possessions. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the world, offered to grant him any wish, Diogenes simply asked him to move aside, as he was blocking the sunlight. Through radical simplicity, he exposed social pretensions and discovered authentic living in ways no classroom could teach. What if you've been searching for wisdom in all the wrong places? What might offbeat education look like in your life? Here are 5 revolutionary approaches that could transform everything. First, embrace self-directed learning. We live in an unprecedented age where all human knowledge is accessible through the device in your pocket. But information isn't wisdom. Montaigne didn't merely accumulate facts, he actively processed them through writing, questioning how classical ideas applied to his own experience. Today, we might combine online lectures with personal reflection, journaling, or discussion groups where ideas are challenged, not merely consumed. Second, and this will change everything, prioritize experiential wisdom. Buddhist philosopher Thich Nhat Hanh teaches mindfulness not through abstract concepts, but through direct experience. Walking meditation, mindful eating, conscious breathing. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when embodied. As Aristotle noted, for the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Third, shatter your conception of the teacher-student relationship. In traditional schooling, knowledge flows one direction, from teacher to student. But Socrates insisted he knew nothing. He was merely a midwife, helping others birth their own insights. In Zen Buddhism, masters often answer questions with paradoxical koans, designed not to transmit information, but to break mental patterns. The relationship becomes collaborative rather than hierarchical. Fourth, and this revelation might be painful, learn through failure. Modern education treats mistakes as something to avoid at all costs. Yet Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca saw setbacks as life's most effective teachers. Epictetus, born a slave with a crippled leg, transformed these hardships into philosophical insights. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Today's resilient psychology confirms this ancient wisdom. Our greatest growth emerges from our greatest challenges. Fifth, embrace cross-disciplinary thinking. Academia divides knowledge into specialized departments, but breakthroughs typically happen at the intersections. Leonardo da Vinci combined art, anatomy, engineering, and natural philosophy. Today, fields like neuropsychology, bioethics, and computational linguistics create new knowledge by bridging traditional divides. Here's something they never taught you in school. Alexander the Great studied directly under Aristotle, walking together through gardens while discussing politics, ethics, and metaphysics. Medieval Japanese samurai combined rigorous martial training with calligraphy, poetry, and meditation, developing both action and contemplation. In 20th century America, Black Mountain College briefly flourished as an educational experiment where faculty and students lived together, combining arts, sciences, and manual labor without grades or required courses. Despite its short existence, it produced disproportionate cultural impact, nurturing talents like choreographer Merce Cunningham, poet Robert Creeley, and artist Willem de Kooning. What these examples share is education as transformation rather than transaction. Not knowledge acquisition, but personal evolution. Not credentials, but character.